Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Good. So am I. Three, two, one. Sam,
Will,
how are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good.
How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I've been busy reading, and I want to talk about.
Liar.
Okay, I've been busy looking at pictures and
There you go.
occasionally reading a speech bubble or a thought bubble or a caption. I've been catching up
What
with
have you been
One
reading?
Piece.
Ah, lovely, lovely. So, how far have you managed to make it this time? I think last time we spoke, it was the first 25, and you just finished the buggy fights.
Yes, we've just been introduced to the Usopp, Usopp.
Usopp.
Usopp. We've just been introduced to Usopp, and I've managed to read that arc. So not too much more, but a nice contained arc that I think has a lot to talk about. So I thought I'd bring it back to you, and we'd open the discussion around Usopp and his little adventure, and Luffy and the gang, and see how things were going. Because we're getting very close. Because I remember last time you said the arc after Usopp was the one where people sort of fully decided whether they were on board or not. So I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah, you've got a new. Yeah, you've got the next arc, which is the Barati arc.
All right,
and
okay.
then it's after that is
it's after that.
usually the make or break point.
Okay.
Because we still have another crew member to join yet, Will.
Of course. Yeah, I did not see Usopp joining the crew. That was completely out of left field. Had no idea that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So
What did you think of Usopp? Bless you. Pardon you.
yeah, all of those. What did I think of Usopp? Usopp is a fun character. He seems pretty bubbly. He's his heart's in the right place, which is why Luffy likes him so much. And he's just a little bit.
He's an awful liar.
He's an awful liar, and arguably an awful person as well. He cries wolf so many times that the villagers want to bludgeon him to death, and just get rid of the kid.
They wish to cause him actual bodily harm.
Yeah. So the whole arc is this evil
Butler.
Yeah, it's Dick Dastardly from Wacky Races. He's just evil for evil's sake, and he wants the money from
Miss Kaya.
Miss Kaya. So Miss Kaya is this wealthy recluse because she's become ill after her parents have died, and our butler, who is called Clahador.
Yes.
Calador. Calador. Sure. Is actually
more easily known as.
Yeah, is actually a pirate by the name of something. What's
Captain Kuro.
Captain Kuro. Okay, so we've got Kuro.
He's got his fun little.
We'll get there.
Glasses.
His little glasses.
Twitch.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Boy, do we get some reveals in this. So it's all set up nicely. Luffy and the gang arrive, and they meet Usopp, and Usopp's basically they overhear. This is where we left the last episode. I've just remembered. So we leave episode chapter 25 thinking they're overhearing this evil plan, and chapter 26 basically picks up in the same place, and they are just expositing. Yep. We have Django, the hypnotist, talking with Kuro.
What a funky guy.
Talking with Kuro about their plan to kill Miss Kaya. And that whole thing is ridiculously silly because they are just literally laying out their plan from start to finish. They talk about...
out in the middle of the open.
Yeah. But they even talk about how they sort of met. That, like, you're the captain now. You don't call me captain. I've given up that title. I've been working here for 3 years to get this opportunity.
I'm a butler now.
And it's very...
I'm going up in the world, damn it.
It's very just... We're just going to tell you what's happening here because we just want to get into the fun stuff. At the end of the last episode, I started to get a better understanding of the way this show, this manga goes, and the plot devices they use with the comical side of Luffy and then the emotional stuff.
Yep.
And right out of the bat, we get Luffy being Luffy to the greatest possible degree. Actually, that's a lie. I've only read 41 chapters. Who knows what's to come? But it was...
When is peak Luffy?
Yeah, I have no idea when peak Luffy is. But I was really... I was laughing out loud. I was guffawing because he's just so fantastically dumb.
Yes. He has barely 2 brain cells to rub together, and one of those brain cells is shared with Zoro.
Yeah, but Zoro hides it better. He's because he's
yeah, because he's just like he's the stoic badass.
Yeah.
If he doesn't say anything, he can't say anything stupid.
Yeah, exactly. So Luffy, they're there. They're in the incognito. They don't. The bad guys are down at the bottom of the cliff, and they're on the top, and they don't know that they're there. They hear everything, and Luffy confirms. So they're going to kill Miss Kaya, and Usopp is like, "Yeah, this is awful. This is the worst thing I've ever heard." So Luffy stands up and says, "Hey, don't kill Miss Kaya.
Hey, maybe don't do that."
Usopp,
that's a bad thing. You shouldn't do bad things.
Usopp's just a wah-ing, and it literally, I'm pretty sure, does that in the yeah, and then there's a chance to save it because how much did you hear? And Usopp's like,
and
nothing.
Could have got away.
Nothing at all. Didn't hear a single thing. And Luffy's like, oh, we heard everything. Absolutely everything. Yes.
All of it.
He reminds me...
What are you doing?
He reminds me of Homer Simpson in so many ways. Just...
Oh my God. What a comparison.
He just looks
Luffy
out.
and Homer.
Like, it reminds me... You know the episode with Frank Jr.?
Frank Sinatra Jr.?
No, that's Family Guy. Well, it might be in The Simpsons as well. You know, Frank Grimes Jr. You must know Grimy. No.
Grimy.
So Frank Grimes...
In The Simpsons?
Yeah. So he's this guy who basically starts working at the power plant, and he's basically...
he's trying to get, like, Homer done, right?
He's trying to get him fired because he's not doing his job, and everyone's just like, that's just Homer. And he's like, are you insane? Are you actually insane?
He's a safety inspector.
He's a safety inspector. Look at how many accidents have happened since he's been in employment. It's doubled every year. Like, most of them are caused by Homer. Yeah, that's just Homer. He just looks out.
Doesn't he die? Yeah. Doesn't he like canonically die at the end of the episode?
Yeah, he dies because he goes insane, and he's like, "Hey, I don't need safety gloves because I'm Homer Simpson." And he grabs the electric like power cords and just because I'm Homer Simp, and then it cuts, and it just cuts to his funeral, and then like I don't know whether it's a season later or like later in that season, but we get Frank Jr., who is like the evil villain for that episode because he's avenging his dad or trying to avenge his dad. It's one of my favorite episodes. Anyway, it just illustrates how ridiculously lucky Homer is and how often he just says the dumbest thing and gets away with it. And like Frank Grimes points out often things like, well, he's got this nice house, he's got a loving family, I'm living in a 1-bed apartment with nothing and all of this. How have you done this? And he invites him round for dinner because Homer's trying to play nice and do the nice thing. He's like, no, I just want him to like me. I'll invite him round for dinner. And then that just gives him more ammunition as to why Homer is such an idiot.
Why he hates it.
Homer's like, oh yeah, that's a picture of when I met the president. That's a picture of when I went to space.
When I went to space.
So good.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like, that is every bad guy in One Piece is Frank Grimes. And... is directing it at Luffy, and things just bounce off of him physically and metaphorically because he's made of rubber.
Yeah. a bit like Homer Simpson when he gets the cannons fired at him. Like he's so fat and obese that he's got the perfect body to absorb cannon shots. It may be.
I feel like the Smashing Pumpkins were involved in that episode.
Maybe there was definitely, yeah, potentially. Anyway, so that's how our
One Piece.
That's how our chapter 20 our arc starts, and then it's this whole.
It's a bit of a runaround from then on, right?
Yeah. Luffy gets hypnotized straight away, and he wakes up, and the line is, "Hey, I thought you were dead." He's like, "Yeah, it's strange. I thought I was on that cliff," and he's just like face planted down. And again, just another great.
Oh my god, yeah, because he falls off the cliff and he's like, "Oh my god, he's died."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, blunt force trauma doesn't work on me, I'm afraid."
No, and there's several points in this where he obviously should have died, and because he's made of rubber, doesn't. So Usopp tries to convince everyone that he's telling the truth, because the plan is the pirates from
The Black Cat Pirates.
there we are, the Black Cat Pirates, who is Kuro's ship and is being led by Django at the minute. They're going to raid the village and kill Miss Kaya in the process. Thereby
take all of the money.
But not before Django is going to hypnotize Miss Kaya to leave all of the money to her favorite butler, which is Kuro, and then Kuro will have an honest way of being rich and out of the eyes of the Navy. So, because his whole thing is that he doesn't want to, he wants to be rich, but he doesn't want to rob and pillage, because then he's got a target on his back. And he wants to do it free.
Yeah, he wants to get out of the pirate game.
Yeah.
He got into the pirate game to get some quick money, but he realizes quite quickly that if you're in the pirate game, it usually means that you are needing to fight for your life, and the Navy come after you and borrow time. And he doesn't want to be on borrowed time. He just wants to live comfortably. And so his grand plan is to
spend 3 years
some documents.
as a butler. Yeah.
Why can't he just be a butler? Why couldn't he just stay in the butler job?
I mean, because you have to be a butler, Sam, and the money's not great, and you have to do everything that
Miss Kaya was
tells
nice.
us. I mean, this had like Stockholm syndrome written all over it. Like he was going to marry Miss Kaya and then offer and take all the money. I guess that's very Frozen-esque, because that's what comparing to Disney. Yeah. Why not? Anyway,
so yeah. That's his big plan.
That's
is
his
to
big plan.
Get all the money, and eventually all of the pirates get to one side of the island and are ready to come and invade. And the only way onto the island is up this big ramp.
Yes, of course. So as you've got one big ramp. So we need to stop them coming up here. It's a narrow channel. It's basically 300, the movie, where they have to go through the pass, and we have to control this pass, and they lay it with oil and make it all slick so they won't be able to get up, and they'll just pick them off from up top. Oh, but there's another pass. They're at the wrong
on
one.
the other side of the island.
Yeah.
That is, if I have a major criticism about this arc, is the fact that that is the most contrived reason for Zoro not being there as
It's
to
so
be
lazy.
part of the fight.
It's
It's
so
like,
lazy.
come
Oh no,
on.
that's funny though, because they all get separated. I like that. I just think it's such a contrived thing to be like, oh no, wait, there's another one that I forgot to mention. Because
This island that I've been on ever since I was born, I just forgot to mention that actually there's two ways onto the island. So.
yeah. And also,
my bad.
Yeah, so the order in which they do, because the explanation as to why he didn't mention it was that was the beach they were talking on. So that was the beach that they were having their clandestine meeting. So that's why he assumed that's the beach they were going to land on. Now, if that explanation had come before, that would have worked better, because he'd be like, right, we're going to go here. This is where they were talking. This is where they were planning their thing. This is where they're going to land. And then it turns out, oh wait, there's another one. Yeah, but and so we already knew that. But that sort of exposit comes afterwards, which feels a bit forced and a bit sort of like, well, we had no idea there was another one, so it doesn't really land. But apart from that, I did like how they all got separated, because I'm sorry, but Luffy, he's just gold. He he Usopp's basically like, right, there's another one. There's a north entrance. So Luffy's like, right, how do I get there? And Usopp goes, run north, just run north. And he's like, right, I'm on it. And he just sprints off. And keeps cutting back to him. He's like, which way's north?
Which way is north?
I don't know which way north is. And then when they finally get back together, so who's the girl? It's Nami. Nami goes off because she wants to save the gold. So she's got to save the gold, which they've left on the boats. Usopp goes to where they need to be, and
with his 8,000 warriors or whatever.
10 million.
Was it 10 million warriors hiding in the bushes?
10 million soldiers. They were like, "Come on, kid.
Who is this guy?
Who is this kid?" Yeah. So and Zolo gets
shit rocked as well, doesn't he?
See, he what?
Usopp gets like absolutely rocked as well, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Sure he does.
He gets
pummeled.
He gets absolutely pummeled. That's really painful to read. He was just getting absolutely owned. Anyway, Zolo, there's this whole little switcheroo where Nami is stuck in their own trap, and that's funny because she made the joke that it would be funny if it'd be a ridiculous thing to get stuck in our own trap. So then she gets stuck in her own trap. She's slipping and sliding, and she uses Zolo to pull herself out, and
he's trying to like stab into the ground.
He gets thrown into it and is there for like the whole chapter, and she's able to get free. And so Zolo is fuming, and eventually he's like, "Come on, it's just slime. I can get out of this." And then he uses his swords to just prise his way out, and all the time he's just, "I'm gonna kill her. Nami,
I'm gonna get that girl.
Get that girl.
Cat burglar. God damn it!"
And which is so funny, which has made even more funny by Luffy having the exact same reaction against Usopp, but it's completely unjustified because he's just going, "God damn Usopp, not telling me where North was. How dare he not?" And there's a great panel.
Why wouldn't he tell me where North is?
There's a great panel at the end where they all get back, and there's Zolo and Luffy, and Zolo says, "Nami, you marooned me in the muck," and he's just fuming. And then in the next panel, it's Luffy, and he's going, "Darn you, Usopp! Why didn't you tell me which way was north?" It's ridiculous. It's like, well, I thought you knew. I had a general idea.
I leave that to Nami. She's the navigator.
Yeah. Again, it's just brilliant characterization that he can have such resolute. It's not my fault I don't know where north is. It's a tricky concept, guys. You should have told me better.
And just the fact that he does take off 100%, like fully ready to just fly into this fight, and then he's just like, the audacity that I don't know where north is. This can't possibly be my fault. It's brilliant. He is so simple.
Yeah.
Ah.
And that's
so then.
I was going to say that's what gets him. Again, just his own stupidity is actually an OP power in certain situations. So there's a bit when they're all facing off these soldiers, and I think sort of just even coming into the mix, Luffy takes most of them out. He just sort of charges through them and bashes them all to the ground. And our hypnotist, Django, hypnotizes all of the pirates to forget their injuries, and to forget their injuries and to be as strong as ever. And they genuinely kind of get like little superpowers, and they're really strong. And unbeknownst to anyone for the first bit, Luffy is also being hypnotized. And they're like...
And he just rips off the front of the ship.
He just goes absolutely insane. And obviously this is Luffy hyped up to 10,000. And everyone is like just scratching their heads like, But the hypnotist wasn't even looking at Luffy. And
How did this
it's just
happen?
by being close to it. He doesn't even need to look at him. He's just got such a simple mind. He just has to hear the
He
words
just
and
gets
he's
wrapped
hypnotized.
up in the vibes.
Yeah. And yeah, he just like just rips off the front bit of wood and then gets knocked unconscious, still falls back and crushes most of them and falls asleep again. Yeah. So funny.
What did you think I guess once he wakes back up afterwards and we get the final fight of the arc, which is Luffy versus Kuro, and he's got his cat step move, which zips around and he can move beyond the sights. What did you think of, like, I guess probably at the first maybe serious fight that Luffy's going through? Because again, I guess against Buggy it's a bit more.
I don't know. I think the thing is, what seems to be very piratey is to have swords and knives, and a lot of our villains seem to have swords and knives, which I think is probably the best attack against Luffy. So it seems quite dangerous and quite the threat feels kind of real, especially when he's like cutting up people left, right and centre. Having a handful of knives against a guy that's rubber, seems a good way to go. You're going to pierce him. I think Luffy again has not Luffy. Buggy had loads of knives and stuff as well, so I think the threat felt pretty real. I think it was pretty intense. There was a point when he nearly got his arm chopped off by Buggy, when his arm was outstretched, and Luffy is still learning that he can be at risk, and he needs to make sure he's aware of that.
He's got these weaknesses in his powers.
But I know what you mean. The villain himself seems a bit more serious. He's not as comical.
He's not a literal clown.
He's not a literal clown. Correct. He's a literal cat.
Yes. Meow.
Yeah. Yeah. If he had cat ears, it would make it a lot more jovial. But I think he is pretty badass. Like, we see the run up to this scene. A lot of the preamble the chapters leading up to this are all just demonstrating how OP he is, because we get the Cat brothers. I can't remember their names. I didn't make a note of them. But there's the two guys that are
the big one and the skinny one.
The big and the skinny one. Yeah, the big guy, skinny guy, who are the guards of the ship, and they come off when all of the other soldiers, all of the other pirates have been defeated, and they've got to fight Zoro.
Yeah.
And they do a pretty good job. Like, they feign that they're timid and shy, and then they pounce on him. They take his swords and leave him handicapped for a few chapters, or at least a chapter. And they're pretty good. They seem to be like Zoro slashes at one, and he's so skinny that it only cuts his top. So there's all these nuances to the battles that I really, really like. I think it's so interesting to see how they handicap people and how their skill sets differ. I think that must be really hard to think up. Really fun.
Oh yeah.
But especially as the chapters go on and the manga progresses, I think it's going to be hard to be original with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think we start to see in this fight as well a lot more of Luffy's powers and what he can do with the Gum fruit. We get a lot of different attack names and styles of using his body that are quite creative. Like, he uses, I think, Gatling for the first time, where he's punching so hard and so fast that he's like, it looks like he's got loads of arms flying at the same time. And then he's got the whip, and then I think the finishing move is he calls it Gum Bell.
Yeah.
Where he just throws his head back and then just slams it forward.
Yeah. The headbutt. That is good. So the before that, he takes Kuro out by predicting his movements, which I'm not sure how I feel about that.
The thing about Luffy is that he's 10 times smarter in battle than he is in general.
It's not the way he wins. I get that. I think that's quite fun that he's not trying to hit the target. He's trying to predict where the guy's going to go, which isn't that tricky in these situations because he's going to go behind you because he doesn't want to get hit. So it's not 100 IQ, but the build up, there's no sort of preamble to that. It's just, okay, I think the guy only uses it once, and then the second time Luffy takes him out. So I feel like there needed to be a bit more of a build up where, and there's no even like panel where Luffy has, there's one panel of Luffy poised and he's sort of got a grin on his face, but there's no sort of inkling that he's got any strategy against this. And I feel like it needed something. It was sort of like the next panel, oh, he's got him. And then they exposit, oh, he predicted where he was going to go. I think they almost needed him to be a bit more on the back foot, because the guy didn't really have a wasn't really on top of Luffy for very long. And I feel maybe that could have been...
I think he only takes like a couple of hits, right? He takes like a hit to the side, and then after that, it's basically dodge, send attack back, dodge, send attack back, figure out the prediction thing, and then win.
Yeah, I think it could have been built up a little bit better, but the whole concept was good. I thought it was fun. I liked Zoro's fight with the two cat people, and then when they get superpowers and the guy comes down and just crushes everything and like basically just cracks the earth. That was all fun. We've also got a whole side quest going on with, which I also...
Django?
Yeah, with Django chasing down the Usopp's little tribe of little children.
Oh, yeah, the little pumpkin-headed kids.
Who are trying to save Miss Kaya. And it's quite nice because they explicitly say, that's a nice way for Usopp to get them away while saving face, because he's like, I need you guys to take Miss Kaya and get her out of here, and it allows them to take.
So it gets
Kaya safe and gets the kids safe, or safer. But then Django chases them, and Django's like job is to get there and to carry out the mission. So
how does that resolve again? Does Nami fight Django?
No. So there's a very brief bit where Nami does have a confrontation with Django, but that's just in an attempt to get Zoro's swords back. So she goes to collect the swords. Django slices the back of her head open with his he's got these spinny like discs.
The spinny discs.
Yeah. So she goes down, and eventually she wakes up right next to him and manages to throw the swords back to Zoro to give him the upper hand in his fight. But Django then Nami's just like, right, I'm out of the fight now. So Django goes after the boys and Miss, what's she called?
Kaya.
And Miss Kaya is weak because she's ill and she's not been well.
Yeah, she's poorly.
Apparently
poorly.
And then like afterwards she's fine. Like she's been ill for 3 years, but since the death of her parents, and apparently that was just grief, and now she's okay again. She was, it's a weird one. I think they missed a really obvious trick to have the butler making her ill.
Yeah, like poisoning or something.
Yeah, but no, apparently she was just
no, she just what do they call it?
Also,
invalid.
Hold on a minute. Okay, this whole plan is dumb as hell. Right, she's already ill. Sorry, am I just making a really obvious statement here that everyone's already clocked and I'm just realizing now? Damn it. Okay, so she's already ill. He's already in a position of power over her because like he's got access to her all the time. All he has to do is ask the hypnotist to come in and do the will thing. They don't need to ransack the village. They could do this completely underhand, and then she just dies of illness, of poisoning. There's no reason for any of this to happen.
Nope. Kuro's an idiot. It's a bit of
sorry.
It's completely contrived.
Can I just officially apologise for being so dumb myself to take this long to realise it?
It's okay. We all read One Piece once.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very contrived plan. It's definitely like in this early doors, it was like, okay, so we can't just have the threat of Kuro and Django. Why, like, let's introduce a bunch of mooks that are going to come and ransack the village to up the stakes for no apparent reason. Like, the plan works totally fine without any of those guys. You just need Django, and Django's on the island.
Yeah.
You could just be like, oh, this is my friend from another island over. He's come to visit. Zippity zappity, you're under my powers.
Yeah.
Like, it works, but no, we have to have here's a crew of like 50 people that Luffy's going to beat half to death.
It's almost deliberately done though, isn't it? Because there's the whole discussion between in the planning of it when Usopp and Usopp and Luffy are listening, they do even emphasize how convoluted this plan is, because Kuro is clarifying with Django what he needs to do. And Django's like, yeah, I get it. We're going to ransack the village and kill Miss Kara. Why can't I remember her name?
Miss Kaya.
Kaya. I keep wanting to say Kara. There's Kuro and Kaya. There's too many Ks. So, we just need to ransack the village and kill Miss Kaya. And Kuro's like, no. Before that, you need to do the hypnotizing and get her to change the will so that she leaves everything to a trusted butler. So they're almost calling out that this is just too many steps and too convoluted, and the probably is.
I think isn't the idea for the ransacking? The ransacking is there to kind of cover up the murder.
Yes,
but also so that the pirates can like make off with a bunch of stuff from the village. I think is that it, and then Kuro's out the picture, and they get to keep whatever they raid.
I don't think that's explicitly said. That might be one of the implications. I think Kuro just keeps saying that he'll make it worth their while, but then his plan is always to kill them because he doesn't want anyone knowing. And he goes to town on them. Like, when it finally comes to it, he's basically this, really threatening dude that controls everyone by fear. And the Cat brothers decide to, you've been on an island for 3 years. You're probably pretty weak in your skills. And it turns out he's pretty tough. So he kills. Well, he doesn't. He kills one of the brothers. I think the skinny dude.
I think he does, doesn't he?
Dies.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
There's a lot of deaths in One Piece that are like not implied.
Deaths. Yeah.
But also deaths that are not deaths. Like,
well, one of the questions.
If you see a mook getting hit, then he's usually
what's a mook?
Dead. Just like a random guy.
Okay.
Like fodder, basically.
Yeah.
If you see a mook getting hit with the power, you can either assume he's just been knocked out unconscious or he's dead. Like,
yeah, I mean, those are the two assumptions.
They're the two options.
I'm not assuming he's like having a nap. Like, what else am I going to assume?
Yeah, valid. No, I think there's moments in One Piece, especially in later arcs, where like these big, like massive battles are happening, and you see people getting slashed about, and it's like, yeah, probably dead. Like, he did take a sword to the face, but like he's also not a named character, so he's likely dead.
It's also not really important, I guess. But so anyway, there's a chapter where we get Kuro's backstory about how he became the badass butler, because he faked his own death. He got the hypnotist Django again to do some hypnotizing, and that was fine. There always has to be a backstory to our characters.
Got to be done. Has to be done. Or usually through flashbacks.
Yes. Yeah, definitely a flashback. And I think the flashback is even just talking to Django about how they met. Like, do you remember when all this went down? Yeah. They're just holding each other as they
caressing each other.
Yeah.
I love you, Django. I've missed you so much.
So you asked earlier.
Years have been so difficult.
You asked earlier how the Miss Kaya situation resolves. Basically, Miss Kaya is weak, so she sort of collapses, and they have to. The boys fake being hypnotized. I'm not really sure how they managed to not be hypnotized, but they're sort of pretending to be asleep, and then they jump Django when he's about to. He manages to get the will written from Miss Kaya just by saying, "Do it, otherwise I'll kill the kids." And then while after she's written the will, he's about to kill her, and the boys jump up and attack him, and that distracts them long enough for Usopp and Zolo, because Zolo's carrying Usopp, who's battered and bruised and can't walk. And there's a whole scene where he's like collapsed in with his arse just sticking in the air.
Just
and
up in the air, yeah.
all the pirates are laughing
His
at
nose
him.
is all crooked.
Yeah, and he's sort of there like, I'm going to stop you, and he can't do anything. And all the pirates are laughing, and Luffy just goes, stop laughing at him, or I will end you.
Yeah. It's like Luffy, like, serious mode. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
They're all like,
more of this, please.
okay, I will stop. Yeah, this is when jovial Luffy becomes like, no, yeah, I ain't taking none of this, Luffy.
Absolutely not. Not with his new friend.
No. And then we get to the climax, and the bad guy loses because Luffy headbutts him really hard.
Headbutts him into next week.
Yeah. And it's very entertaining. I enjoyed it. And then we get this sort of what do they call it when it's the aftermath, isn't it? I don't know.
Like the epilogue.
The epilogue, yeah. So we find out what happens to people, and we find out that Usopp. Oh, by the way, let's just talk about. There's a bit halfway through when Usopp is telling the villagers, and no one's believing him, and they're all at him, and they're all like, "You're an idiot. We're going to beat you up." And then he goes and tells Miss Kaya, and she doesn't believe him, and she's just like, "Why are you doing this? This is you're the liar. You're the villain." And no one believes him. He gets shot in the arm by one of the other butlers.
Yeah.
And
the goat man.
The goat man.
Who is just part goat, and it's never brought attention
is he part
to.
Goat?
He's just got
I thought
horns.
he had little teddy bear ears. But it's goat, is it? You going with goat?
I think he's a goat. Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to go with goat.
Okay, he's going with goat. So, and then he talks to his gang, his boys, and you just see him sort of crack a little bit, and it's heart wrenching because he then lies to them to keep them safe. He's like, "No, I just lied. It's not true." And then he tells Luffy, "Yeah, well, no one's going to believe me. No one believed me anyway, and I don't want them to get hurt," kind of thing. And
yeah,
it hurts because he is the liar, and he's been lying this whole time. And then we get that weird flashback about why he's been lying all this time, and it's really, I'm not sure it really works. Apparently his mum was really ill, and he lied to his mum on her deathbed about his dad coming back. Like, "Dad's here, Dad's back.
Yeah.
You need to get better so we can all go on an adventure." And then he comes in again. Oh, then that does up. Mum's just like, "Stop being silly." And then he lies again and says, "Have you heard about the wonderful magical medicine that they've just found that's going to cure everything, and you're going to be great, and it's going to be all good?" And his like little childhood eyes are streaming, and he's all like just doing anything he can to try and help his mum to pull through. And she's like, "If I don't make it," he's like, "Stop talking about it. Stop talking about it. You're not going to die. Everything's going to be fine. It's going to be all right." And then from there, he decided to lie every day and say that even though his lies didn't work, he's still going to lie every day and continue to.
Dad of the Year goes to Usopp there for just buggering off with Shanks.
Is Usopp's dad
back.
called Usopp? That's fun.
Yeah.
Is
Usopp
Luffy's
and
dad
Usopp.
called Ufi or something? Like, why not?
It's like his son, Boofy.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, Naruto and Boruto
Boruto, yeah, God. Don't even.
Apparently, there's just a thing where you name your kids like your name, but not your name. So I'm going to call him.
Called Damn.
Yeah, and mine's going to be called Bill. Oh wait, that is a name.
Hang
on.
So we can get into the epilogue, don't we? And the crew get given the Going Merry, their ship.
Yes. Yeah. So is this the one like that you see in the art from now on? Is this sort of their ship for a long time?
This is their big ship.
Don't spoil it. I don't want to know if they like. Yeah, I don't want to know whether. I feel like I've seen this ship in color images of artwork, so I'm assuming it's still there even now 1,000 chapters on, but
1,000 chapters later.
but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, this is their ship.
Yeah.
That they get from Miss Kaya, and finally Luffy is a captain of like a proper boat.
Yeah.
And Usopp even manages to draw the Jolly Roger really nicely of this for the Straw Hat Pirates.
Yeah.
And it's the skull and crossbones with the Mugiwara straw hat.
I need to go back and
on
look
top.
at that. I missed that. I'm gonna have to look at that. I imagine that'll be in the last chapter. I'll look at that later. Yeah, that's cool. And we. I just got a big ping in my ear. Don't know what that was. So yeah, we get the epilogue. So we get the flashback about Usopp, and we get him deciding that he's gonna leave and go on his adventure with to become a pirate. He packs up all of his stuff and breaks through his own house with his bag to get out of the door because it's all of his stuff, and then he rolls all the way down the hill to the beach. And
because thank you, here's our comic relief character.
yes, and like we need it, we've got Luffy.
Yeah, we've got Luffy.
But we've got another comic relief character, and he's there ready to go on his adventure by himself, and he's like, Miss Kaya, don't stop me. You can't stop me. Don't try and stop me. She's like, okay, I won't. Good. It wouldn't have worked anyway. Yeah, good. But we do get a little bit of feels from Miss Kaya later, who admits to her now butler that, you know, she wanted Usopp to stay. And yeah, and the biggest feels is Usopp saying goodbye to his little buddies.
Yeah, to the little
he disbands
crew,
them
to the kids. Yeah,
and there's tears in the eyes.
Pirates are disbanded.
And they go off, and
Captain Usopp.
they continue to spread the word of Usopp and to continue his work in the village. And it is really
lying to and annoying them all.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the arc overall then? Coming into the closer.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It's very simple, but there's enough sort of mini arcs. Like looking back, it's fairly simple, but we don't really know anything about Kuro until halfway through, when they start to reveal his relationship and like show his badassery in combat. So it's nice to sort of, it feels like a new villain as it evolves, because he's then not just this mastermind behind the plan, he's actually evil as hell, and
like he's capable.
He's very capable as well. I think some bits like introducing the two cat people, they're fun, but they weren't introduced
it's
before.
It's just somebody for Zoro to fight, really.
Exactly. I thought, now looking back, that because it is so convoluted, I don't know whether that makes it better or worse. I think in a way it makes it kind of better, because like you say, it's these beginning chapters where they're just getting the band together, and it doesn't necessarily need...
Gotta get the crew.
Doesn't need... And there is that whimsical stupidity to the whole thing, so why not have a convoluted way of getting the action together? It doesn't necessarily need to be the most pristine narrative, order of events, but it does what the job that it needs to, right? It does, and
it gets everybody where it needs to be, gives us a cool fight, introduces our new character, and kind of makes us want to root for him, because even though he's pretty useless, he still seems to have enough of the gumption to keep trying to help and to fight even after he's been pummeled. Shows that he actually does have a bit of a heart gold in there.
Yeah, there's a bit when they're all ready to fight, and he asks what everyone can do, and Zoro's like, I use swords.
I cut.
I
steal. I stretch.
I stretch. And he goes, I hide. Like, and he's like, no, you've got to fight too. Oh, fine. And he does fight, and he gets battered, and then he keeps going. And you've got to feel for a kid who's that resolute and willing to. And there's nice morals in this, because there's I say nice. Depends how you look at it. It's a bit sort of like, it's quite piratey actually. Usopp says, Luffy says, we're going to fight with you. We're going to help you. And Usopp says, is that because you feel sorry for me? And Luffy's like, no, it's because we're impressed. We respect you because you want to fight. You want to stand up for yourself. You're willing to fight. And it's and he's like, well, we wouldn't fight for someone we felt sorry for, which is kind of a nice modern. It's a nice, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit of a spin on it. It's not just not just being altruistic, and like by clarifying and almost kind of bigging Usopp up, it's raising him as well.
It's also devaluing sympathy, and we can feel sorry for anyone. People have it hard, but you're actually trying to do something about it.
You're actually being proactive.
You're being proactive, and you're fighting for what you want, and that we can respect because that's what we're doing. We're like everyone on that team is doing that.
Yeah. True.
Luffy for his King of the Pirates and
King of the Pirates.
Zoro for
swordsman. All the money
to become the best swordsman. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and all the money. Yeah. So they're all fighting for their own thing, and I think that they see that in Usopp and his. Not sure what his... so what's his motivation? Just to become a pirate and to become a good pirate?
He wants to be a great sea warrior. He wants to be a great pirate like his dad, and he wants to be like a man of the sea, I think is what he refers to it as. It's interesting, actually, that you like this arc as much as you did, because I remember when I first started trying to watch One Piece, when I picked up the anime originally, I got to this arc, and this is where I dropped it. Initially,
really?
So and I was like, I can't do this. I need to do something else. It was made a lot more bearable for me in the rewatch in One Piece because again they just really really tightened it up.
Okay.
But yeah, I found this arc, especially after the introduction of Zoro and Buggy, just something about it. I think maybe it was the setting. I just didn't like that it was that narrow corridor for the whole fight. For me, I felt like what was really interesting was getting to see all these new locations they were going to and exploring the islands. And currently, at that point, it felt like it was taking a step back, but the fight was good.
Yeah, so, I enjoy the corridor scene, and I don't know whether it's just the mechanics of being contained like that. I like it's the classic. Two ends of a football field. Right, we're stuck in this location. How can we use it to our advantage? We've got this particular setting. It's tactical warfare in a very simplistic way, as in you've only got. What was that show that used to be on TV where you had like the map and you had to control of an army and you had to. Do you remember? It was it's like digital. It was almost like what's the word? Holographic tabletop where you had control over your squadron and stuff. That's gonna drive me insane. I used to love that show.
Inside. What was that?
Time something or?
I've typed in TV show army fight.
Yeah. 90s TV army
Deadliest Warrior
holographic army war.
Was it UK? Was it definitely like a UK based one?
I think so.
Huh.
Quantum Leap. I don't think it's Quantum Leap.
Not Quantum Leap. Anyway,
it does not matter.
We can search that later. Let's finish up Usopp's arc.
Yes.
So
you didn't enjoy it.
I didn't enjoy it that much. I think I like seeing your perspective on it because it's like, oh yeah, that's what I felt the first time that I read the arc. It was just going back and watching it in the anime at a slower pace than I could read it was a bit jarring. But I like Usopp. I think he's cool. I think he's also an important member of the crew, and you'll see why as the chapters go on.
Okay.
Because he is he's not a monster like Zoro and Luffy and other members. Like he is a bit more grounded and he feels squishier.
Yeah.
But yeah. So are you gonna keep going? You think
I'll keep going. I'll keep going. again, it's taken me a long time to get back into it. Reading scares me. It's just one of those things where, like, when you've got so much going on, do I want to sit down and read? But I really enjoyed it once I got into it. I was very tired when I was reading this the other night, but I wanted to make sure that I covered the entire arc. Well, I'll keep reading. I'll try and read more regularly, so it's not as all
Sporadic.
at one go. Yeah. And I'll update you with our next instalment of One Piece.
Fantastic.
Le Manga.
Of One Piece. Excellent. Well, let's see how you go with that next time.
All right. Brilliant.
Nice.
Okay. Peace out.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Was it called Lad's Army?